By far, one of the greatest feats of the Arkham series is just how much detail is packed into its environments. They are always foreshadowing things, referencing the comics, or just flat out having fun with the nooks and crannies players might miss. This is true even in the very first Arkham game, Arkham Asylum. So in this video, I want to go over some of my favorite completely useless details, fun facts, and Easter eggs in the game that I missed on my first playthrough, and chances are, there's some details here you might have missed too. From design plans for Arkham City to fully functioning metal detectors, let's start with one of my favorites. There's a pretty blatant Easter egg that's hard to miss as you search for Dr. Young, which is that in one of the Asylum's many morgues, there's a body with a toe tag saying Ras Al Ghul. Creepy? Yes. A fun Easter egg? Also. But there's more. If you come back after the game is complete, then you'll see that that body is now missing. A cool detail, but I wonder what it implies. Was this body moved by the League of Assassins? Was Hugo Strange able to revive him during the night's chaos? My mind runs a little wild thinking about what the implications are, but who knows? This could have just been done as a little nod to how hard it is to kill someone like Ra's. Arkham Asylum has received plenty of criticism over the years about how simple its combat can be, and while those people are wrong, it is also by design. Alongside the game's combat going through multiple iterations, according to Sefton Hill, the game's director, it was also specifically designed to be simple, because if punching is simple for Batman, then why shouldn't it be for the player? Arkham Asylum is one of the most unique Arkham games combat-wise, because it is the only game where you cannot cancel an attack by countering. This makes the game especially difficult because you need to fight with more intention, and it makes taking down larger groups of enemies more methodical. I never noticed this until marathoning the series in reverse. The Visitor Center is one of the coolest and otherworldly parts of Arkham Asylum, seeing as it forces you into first person and lets you discuss the story's happenings with its ultimate antagonist. Of course, it's revealed that the mannequin is indeed Joker in the end, but the implication is that the Joker is only there in the final encounter. However, if we turn around and look back, we can see the pose change, meaning that either we're dealing with some weeping angels, or the Joker is truly the one under there, the entire time. I love thinking about the idea of the villain being right under our nose the whole game, and it's part of what makes the ending surprise so much fun. Some of the best moments in Arkham Asylum are the Scarecrow segments, which I feel have never been topped for the rest of the series. These typically come out of nowhere, especially the final encounter, which makes it seem like your game crashed. But the keen-eyed players will get both a visual and audible indicator that we've ingested fear toxin. Often, right before entering the room that contains the fight, we'll see some strange gas coming out of nearby vents, and the dead giveaway is that Batman coughs. At first, I assumed this to just be an atmospheric detail, like a kind of realism, but no. This is part of him ingesting the fear toxin. I find it doubly cool that we can find multiple stashes where Dr. Crane was creating said new fear toxin. So the first encounter with Scarecrow is scary. I know, shocking.
But if you're an especially paranoid person, you might think to use detective mode to see who's hiding in those body bags. And if you do, then you'll hear this.
This is exactly why some people still think Arkham Asylum is the best. It's such a tight-knit experience supplemented by details like this. During one of the final times we see the Joker face-to-face in the Botanical Gardens, we see he has multiple gifts on an elevator, and if you look closely, you can see they are to be delivered to different villains like the Penguin, Two-Face, Catwoman, and it can be assumed that these are shipments of Titan that could have made it off Arkham Island. Compile this with the post-credit scene and we can easily assume that these shipments are exactly how the Titan formula ended up in Arkham City years later. It's not far-fetched to think that this was an intentional detail too, as the blueprints for Arkham City are within the Asylum, but I think that detail has been done to death, so I won't cover it much more here. A cool detail in the Arkham Mansion is that there is a metal detector that will go off if you walk through it, which makes sense given the arsenal Bruce has keistered up that utility hole of his. But did you know you can also activate this metal detector by throwing a metal gadget through it like a remote control batarang? Man, the detail in this game is genuinely astounding at times, it's kinda nuts. Any of you who have played the game before knows that before the first Scarecrow encounter, you get a wave of enemies that need to be taken out in stealth. But did you know that you don't actually need to take these guys out? Yeah, you can just walk into the elevator and move forward. Now, it might be a bit immoral, seeing as how the doctors there are probably boned without you, but hey, we have bigger fish to fry. In a similar vein, when we figure out that a Titan antidote ingredient is located in Killer Croc's lair, we have to speak to Aaron Cash to find out where Croc's lair is. But you also don't have to do this either. You can just skip it, heading straight to the lair and never speaking to our one-handed friend. I really love the YouTuber Arkham Boss. He makes great videos and even has a great video talking about details in Arkham Asylum. But I want to add to this discussion regarding one detail involving Jason Todd. Mr. Boss makes a connection between this room in the asylum and the room featured during the flashbacks, claiming that this one could be where Jason was held, and it's located in an abandoned wing of Arkham. However, I don't think this is the room, for one reason, and it's the lack of stairs. When looking at Arkham Knight Genesis, we can see that there's a set of stairs leading into the room where Jason is tortured. However, this room also doesn't seem to have the tile flooring, so it seems like this comic might not be the most reliable source. I figured it's a fun thing to add to the discussion. I'll have Arkham Boss's video linked below if you want to check it out. I highly recommend it. Aside from the actual torture room, some people have theorized that this cell in Arkham could either be Jason's cell or the Joker's. The part that causes the discrepancy is that this cell features Batman and a red-hooded character. This could apply to both the Arkham Knight and Joker, as they both have taken up the mantle of a character with a red headpiece. I like to think this is Joker's cell, however, as Jason was never admitted into Arkham, but I also feel like the Joker's cell would be much more decorated if you catch my drift. Maybe a hanging head here and a few playing cards there. Polly's Diner is a significant location in Arkham Knight, seeing as it's where Scarecrow's takeover begins, but did you know it also makes a very, very brief appearance in the opening of Arkham Asylum? Supposedly this is a reference to the writer Paul Dini who worked on the game, but I couldn't find a proper source for this, though it does make sense. Victor Zsasz, and no, I don't know how to spell his fucking name, is the first villain we take down in the game, in a tutorial of sorts. You're instructed to glide kick him and then take him down, and I would say 99.9% of players do this. However, you can let him get back up, and if you do, he'll start fighting you. What's interesting here though is that this is technically the earliest you can encounter the knife enemies, otherwise not encountering them for the first time until you enter the medical building. Another thing that the game accounts for is if you take too long to solve the first riddle. It's a pretty simple one, however, when I played this game for the first time, I was 9 years old. As such, I didn't really understand how to solve the riddle and heard a lot of this dialogue, and was so stuck that I had to run all the way downstairs to the basement where the family computer was, search up the answer, and then run all the way back upstairs to solve the riddle.
I said, don't cut yourself on this sharply observed portrait. You know, portrait, painting, picture on the wall, in a frame, a painting of something sharp, Warden, sharp. That old guy who runs the place? In a painting? On the wall?
Is it a testament to me being a dumbass? Yeah, but come on. You guys know I've always struggled with the whole critical thinking thing. Okay, so maybe this is something only I missed. Clearly I have a track record for that, but I always found myself annoyed by the ivy plants around the asylum, and I never knew that the best way to deal with the projectiles they shoot was to use the double, or better yet, triple batarangs to get rid of them. I really thought that you just had to sneak up on them, and I feel like an idiot for not knowing sooner. When fighting Bane, if you lose, then you have a chance to be shown a unique game over screen featuring Bane performing the classic backbreaker move featured in the Nightfall comics, and of course, the legendary Christopher Nolan film, The Dark Knight Rises. Alright, everybody knows about the secret room in Quincy Sharp's office, and I don't want to retread that ground, but I do want to clarify something, which is the idea that this was added in the Game of the Year edition of Batman Arkham Asylum. That is not true. It was there from the beginning, and it took so long for fans to find it that, on a Game of the Year podcast, Rocksteady developer Paul Crocker revealed it. So no, this wasn't patched in, and this is important because if this was added after the game's critical success, then it would undermine the, for lack of a better term, aura of the whole thing. The plans for Arkham City were being internally discussed at Rocksteady up to 7 months before the release of Arkham Asylum. Half of what makes this Easter egg so cool is that it lays the roadmap for one of the greatest superhero games ever. The Joker's mural is one of the coolest details in this game, as it progresses with each villain you take down, and what I especially love about it is that it resembles the original cover of Batman Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, which is a banger comic, by the way. It was a massive inspiration for this game, and it's totally worth reading if you get the chance. While it was obvious that the game took inspiration from the Arkham Asylum comic, did you also know that the game was heavily inspired by the atmosphere of the first BioShock game, according to the game's producer, Nathan Burlow? For these next few details, I'd like to welcome fellow Arkham tuber, Arkham Analysis. Take it away.
Hey, that boy Aqua, thanks for having me. I got a couple of useless but cool details you might have missed. If you look closely, you can spot a G for Gordon carved into the pipe. It's pretty easy to miss since it's so small, but I've always liked this detail. The devs added rain in the remake, which they had originally planned for the first game, but cut it, likely due to hardware limitations or cost. It really elevates the atmosphere now. The rain makes everything look so much better. All the guards outside are even wearing heavy raincoats, and in a pre-rendered cutscene set outdoors, the rain is present. You can also see it appear during certain Scarecrow segments. It's a blink and you'll miss a detail, but if you look closely, the Arkham logo is actually embedded in the Warden's jewel in the first scene in the game. The very same one we use later to track him down. When Batman heads over to the medical building for the first time, you can hear Joker say over the PA,
"Paging Dr. Howard, Dr. 5, Dr. Howard."
Funny enough, that's actually a Three Stooges reference pulled straight from one of the classic episodes. This is such an amazing detail that always catches my eye, and it only happens during the first Scarecrow encounter. It reminds me of some of my favorite BTAS episodes, like His Silicon Soul or Blind as a Bat, with the red eyes shining through the cowl. It's such a great callback. One of the best things the Asylum nailed was its environmental storytelling. Everywhere you look, there are bullet casings, gunshot holes, and bodies that tell the story of the chaos that unfolded. Even some of the eerie details of Scarecrow dragging a corpse, it adds to the creepiness of the atmosphere. They absolutely mastered it in this game. They're playing our song. The song playing near the end, Irresistible You, by Mark Franklin, adds so much depth to the story. It really speaks to Batman and Joker's complicated relationship in the series, almost like an echo of what the story will eventually become in the end. At least he has good taste. And finally, something I've always found interesting, in the last audio tape, Riddler mentions an Italian place on 19th Street, and in Arkham City, you actually find an Italian restaurant with a Riddler's trophy inside. Makes me wonder if this is the spot he was referring to. Those are just a few of my personal useless facts about the game, but you can find plenty more over on my channel, where I overanalyze the Arkham series. Thanks again, that boy Aqua, for having me. And as I always say, us nerds need to stick together.
Thank you so much for the help on this one, and if you want to check out their channel, all the links will be in the description. Frank Balls is one of the first characters we meet in the game, and he's actually helping the Joker. We track him by analyzing a flask of bourbon he's left on the ground. But did you know that throughout the opening we can actually see said flask on his belt? I've played this game over 10 times and this is the first time I noticed this. Arkham Tone. Did you know that the tone that plays before an announcement actually gets more and more distorted as the game goes on? Take a listen.
We all sing. I know you're down there, Bats.
Many people know that Batman's suit gets more and more ripped as the night goes on, but did you also know that he grows a bit of a stubble, and even further, gets a bloodshot eye in the process? I love these more subtle ways that we see how the night has progressed for him. One of the scariest moments in the entire series is when entering Killer Croc's lair. And did you know that if you decide to run from Croc, he'll find ways to cut you off? It's much scarier than him just catching up to you, and bonus fact, a quickfire batarang does not work for electrifying his collar. When defeating Ivy near the end of the game, Batman will draw a particular shape with his explosive gel that looks like an R. Possibly for Robin. Who knows? One of the most iconic sounds from the Arkham series is the spraying of explosive gel, and this sound was specifically created by simply recording 3 different cans of whipped cream being sprayed at once. While we know that Arkham Asylum drew a lot of inspirations from different comic books, did you know that the game itself actually inspired a comic run? According to Grant Morrison, someone whose work inspired Arkham Asylum, said that the game was an inspiration when creating the Batman Incorporated run. I think this is a really cool full circle moment and a great place to end this video. I've always kind of struggled with how to end a video. Like, do I say thanks for watching? Do I tell you to like the video, subscribe, hype it? I don't know. I don't really know what to tell you. Mention your favorite details from Arkham City, and if they're good, I'll feature them in a video when I make it. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, bye.